Hey everyone, Boris here, bringing you another VOD review. Today we'll be jumping in game with Tleyd, who had a quite productive night of climbing on any ladder last night, therefore let's see how he manages to pilot some of these spots. We are playing on a Silver Scrapes encounter, which everyone just forgets until they get to the last top 2. And we are starting out with the Cho'Gath drop, therefore definitely could consider playing into some kind of Void. Also able to pick up a Kog'Maw here and chop, as well as a Viego pair. Very strong line to play into current meta, if you are able to get that 2-star Viego 1-4. Now, holding on to not picking up the Kog'Maw right now, I would assume we sell this Aphelios. Yes, we do. Also could have sold the Lulu, as generally you're not playing around these Yordles right now. Check the Void. We do not have the Iron Carapace, unfortunately, which is, I would say, that the strongest one to look for into playing this Void line. The Kaisa can both use Leeching Nucleus and the Spikes, while a Journal module is better on something like a Bel'Veth. Our components with the Cloak kind of signaling that we could play into the Slayer's line. However, we did not hold on to this Rek'Sai. Therefore, let's see how he manages to pilot this spot. Coming on the augments, Fire Axiom, generally good augment if you were looking for that anti-heal. However, not as strong on 2-1 as we do not have particularly board to capitalize on it, and we also have the components of a Morello or half a Sunfire or a red buff. Critical success, something that generally would benefit if we are able to slam a JG here at least. And something that's also quite good in the Slayer line, but it is quite slow, as you would generally be cashing this out around mid-stage 4, even sometimes it's start of stage 5, which is quite late. Artillery Barrage is an augment that got buffed, and I'm sure his chat is begging for him to pick up, and we also have a Rage Blade Slam to go with it right away. Therefore, we could kind of consider, but then our left arrow components are not as great, and something that you would generally want to be playing from a 2-star Rumble to capitalize on, as it's a 1-cost reroll, that this one has Hero Augment. As you're sacrificing that augment, you want to definitely be looking for a strong stage 2 in most cases. However, from the given options, I would be defaulting it to it for right now. We're going to do a little scout around, see what everyone's playing. Now, Cold Shot would be something that we obviously want to play from Win Streak. We do not have a board supported. And I would say that the best option right now would be just getting the branching out, as we have not established a very clear direction. We have the Rage Blade. We could also play into Ionia or the Kaisa from Lost Streak with the Kog'Maw that we have picked up. But I'm very sure that, yeah, he's leaning in to please the chat. And he's going for the Artillery Barrage. We do not have the opener, and the issue here is you do not in the current meta want to be holding onto Yordles, really. Rumble is fine if you're playing around some kind of Demacia opener, perhaps to pair with a Jarvan, or something like if you're holding onto a Nico. That's just to getting the 2 defender on, but you're never holding onto Lulu, as we didn't either. And therefore, we're just going to be selling everything here, as we want to be playing in these Yordles. Now, again, as I mentioned, you would have wanted to perhaps, hopefully at least start winning after the stage 2 carousel, but I'm not exactly sure how we could manage to get to that spot from here. Therefore, let's see, it's going to be a quite interesting game, and to see how we manage to close it out as well. Now, general for this comp, we are playing it with the full out Yordles, and if we just quickly pull up the itemization here of the Rumble, if we check the builds, we have that generally playing with double Rage Blade or an Archangels is the most common. However, I believe that playing around here with the Gunblade could be quite good. GS also quite serviceable, lower sample sizes, but the Gunblade would be supporting the Yordle frontline, which they generally seem to lack onto. And we also managed to high roll our shops a little bit, able to pick up the 4 Yordle right now, which is crucial, as it can start printing upgrades for us right away. And hopefully we're able to get this Rumble quite on time on stage 3 to be able to capitalize. As with any kind of reroll, you definitely want to be winning stage 3, especially in a 4-cost heavy meta, where you are the one spending your gold. You want to be capitalizing, and hero augments are generally, unless they are like overbuffed a little bit, then you are playing for your top 3, top 4, maybe a top 2. Therefore, you want to be getting this early tempo in any form you can. Also, you want to be completing your icon carries with 3 items, ideally at the start of stage 3, latest by after the stage 3 carousel. Hence, we're going to be picking up this rod here. Also able to pick up a Poppy too from our shop. Very strong early game tank. And unless it was for the exact inbuilt Yordle Defender synergy, I would say that the Poppy is even stronger if you're able to get some form of a Juggernaut. She just simply does the holding down the fort better, and also is better to be played into Demacia as a tank in early game over something like a 2-star Jarvan. Now we are able to pick up a Rumble too here, however we would want to really close the stage out on a 5 loss. Scout around, we see that the opponents are quite strong, therefore I would doubt we're going to be sacking the board. We want to maximize our recon here. This is another thing with the reroll, especially in the current set. You definitely want something to enable the reroll, and in the form of economy, because you want to be hitting quite soon, and obviously that's going to cost you quite a lot of gold unless you are playing from like very high roll shops. So, but we managed to close out here on the 5 loss, going to carry over that's 3 gold into PvE, and probably going to start looking to try to start winning the next stage fully if we are able to. Also get a Rumble from our orb and get a full out Archangel's drop, which is amazing for our spot. Exactly what we were looking for. Just going to probably be slamming that right away. Also be able to unlock Cannon as his unlock condition got reduced by a single star level. Very nice to pair up on this board, but giving the full board a little bit extra of armor and R. Going to be slamming this Archangels, and yeah, we're going to be strong, therefore we're just going to toss this Spark on right away. Going to toss it on a Cannon, but I believe it might have been a little bit stronger on the Poppy right away, as we're not guaranteed to do start this Quinn anytime soon. We also rolled down a little bit. We hovered around this 32 gold. Generally, you want to be hovering around this 32 gold mark. 33 gold is the exact mark if you want to be ensuring that you're for sure making 40 gold next turn. On to the next augment. Pyromaniac. Good if you're looking for that item tempo, however, it's not that particularly great. In the Rumble, well, it could substitute the second Rage Blade. It's an option to consider. And also Rumble is going to spread it quite well. I'm just not sure it's exactly the best option that we might be looking for right away. Big grab bag, generally good combat augment in the form of items. Heroic grab bag could also enable us, giving us that extra econ, but is going to make our cap a little bit lower, but would alleviate some of the pains of wanting to look for 3 more Rumbles in our spot. Therefore, perhaps that would be something I would be leaning into. He also roll it first, okay, but we roll Wild Growth, which gives us a single guaranteed Rumble. However, if you're watching the Mordog Morning Meta reports, it has been shown to be quite underperforming because Yordle reload is just not that strong, and you want multiple 3-star Yordles to be able to capitalize from it. However, he is leading into it. It seems like this was a game played for the chat, and we hit a double Rumble shop, therefore able to level to 6 right away. Slot in 6 Yordle, and we're going to be having a big Rumble on our board, spreading down the missiles on the rest of the board. And hopefully this is going to enable us to 5-streak here, being a little bit poor still here on the gold. But if we're able to close it out with a win streak, we should be quite fine. Now, I kind of doubt that we want to be holding onto this 3-star Lulu here, like a second 2-star Lulu, because we're not going to be chasing it as a 3-star. The extra stats on an itemized Lulu, I just don't see them happening. Going up against the Slayer board with a 2-star Rek'Sai, thankfully we have been able to position in such a way that the Rek'Sai gets to move between our front line and nothing gets on this Rumble, and we're able to rain down. The Rumble at 3-star on this stage 2-3 should be quite strong for us. Now we're going to be looking for hopefully able to complete some kind of item. Although we have an open belt, it's quite nice to play around, but I doubt that we're going to be slamming something like a Nashor's. Therefore, yeah, going to go for maximum gold and pick up a bow to transition into that second Rage Blade. If we're able to lucky to get another rod drop, might leave this bow open most likely. Going to see, we are still lacking on the frontline department with only one single upgraded, but going up against the Slayer's Velvet. So Slayers definitely seem quite contested in this game. Now it's a 3-star 3-item Velvet, so it should be quite scary for us. Thankfully we're able to pick it up. With this Rumble, it's generally a stall comp, therefore you want some kind of support for your frontline. That is another reason why Gunblade should be so good in stats. But we are closing out here most likely on a 5-streak. We are playing as quite good stage 3 boards. Going to the Inara player, they do have a 2-star RE. Should be a little scary matchup, but thankfully this Jhin does not have any form of attack speed or mana gen, therefore not able to take our front line quite down in time, and Rumble has managed to scale a little bit and able to take it out as the board did not have that much HP on it. So yeah, this augment definitely quite good in the early stages of the game. Now, to be able to cap it out, we would most likely need to make it to level 9, look for a 2-star Ziggs, and maybe most likely slot in some legendary units. You do not want to be sitting on state Yordles throughout the rest of the game, since you are running some quite weak units generally. Now, for our items, we have a full Steadfast that we might just consider slamming. We also have a Sunfire, but we're just going to opt for a Steadfast, a generally stronger combat tank item. And we have a Spark, which is already a little understated for pure tank purposes. Therefore, we want to secure that we have this front line for this Rumble to go to work. Into a Slayer player that have already rolled down with the Epic roll down and picked up a Shyvana and a Bel'Veth too. Therefore, unfortunately, we're going to be losing the round here. Unlocking Koboko and Cannon that now that we should be able to push to level 8, hopefully. But we are still a little low on the gold side, therefore, let's see. On our next item, on our next augment options. Ascension, good for these stall comps. With the buffs and buffs, it's a decent combat augment. Exiles is gold is also a very mediocre combat augment, and it's a little harder to position with this Yordle since you're running quite a few frontline units. Tons of stats, very mediocre, but we already have this stat buff coming in on our carry from purely the Yordle trait. Therefore, at this point, since we are playing a stall comp, we might be leaning into either Exiles or Ascension. Now, since the Rumble is the last one alive, this should be quite decent. 3/3s there could have given us quite a bit of gold, and Arcane Victory is simply underpowered, especially with the meta where so many people are running Titans and QSSS. And it being so late into late game with proccing the stun is just a little too weak. Going to opt to reforge the belt and able to pick up a Giant Slayer, yeah, that should suffice for now. Rumble struggling a little bit to deal with the single target damage, and hopefully this should help him out a little bit more. Going it into a 2-star Kai'Sa with a Ref Herald, but once this Ascension procs, let's see how, yeah, once this Ascension procs, this Rumble is actually going to work. Very well recognized that once we have this full stacking, we have our very backloaded comp. Therefore, if we're able to get to some form of a 3-star Yordle tank, we should be in a good spot. Barely make it to level 8, but it's completely fine to be level 8-0 with these Yordles, as you're going to be farming the grab bags that are going to be rebounding your econ. Into a 2-star Braum. The neat thing here is, though, if they do have a super tank, Rumble is able to bypass that and get to their backlines, but it does seem that they need to move up a little bit. Even though with the rage extension, he should have 7 hex range. He should be able to get to them, but they did not seem. So let's just pay attention a little bit more in the next fight when we're opposite side. I'm not sure, but if we're opposite side, I don't think we are going to be able to fully reach out there to their backlines. Therefore, the correct play might be to position him in the same side as the enemy carry. Our grab bag giving us already 5 cannons and now 2-starring this Koboko. Definitely want to be seeing if you can 3-star any of these 2 tanks. Ideally, it would be probably the cannon, since we have the innate defender synergy right away. For a Koboko, we'd be looking to able later on drop to some kind of Wukong era Volibear. Into another Kai'Sa Slayer board, and this Rumble is putting in the work. Like, once we get to this Ascension, the damage buff is quite significant. Very well read by Tleyd that in this stall comp, this Ascension can be quite good, and this new Ascension has shown some promise, so to say. Like, there have been multiple cases where we've seen already, just in the game from the last video, this shop also realizing in a stall comp that this Ascension can definitely go to work. Now, something like a set is though a little bit scary because since we are remaining on a single unit that is face tanking a little bit even, if this set comes in, then we are not in the greatest of the positions to be dealing with it, since he can do so quite a lot of damage. But we're able to take him out there mid-cast and should be completely fine. Already sitting on 7 cannons. Hopefully able to finish the 3-star. We have the grab bag that could also form us a dupe. To complete our items, we are looking for another form of third item. We probably, we can keep this JG here. Going to go with Adaptive Helm Morello, get that anti-heal sorted, and having the JG that could later on be transitioned onto the Ziggs. Now another Slayer's board, and this time they have managed to break through our front line fast enough. So yeah, this is where the general case the Rumble will start falling off if we do not have the front line to support it. But we're able to finally get the 3-star cannon online, so we have a very big cannon with the light wild growth now, getting a little bit more value out of this augment. So hopefully the other board should now have a little bit of a struggle. Since we are so backloaded, if our frontline cannot support it, we are in trouble. Going to try to map out this board that we're looking to be playing. Considering playing around Wukong or Set in the form of Arcanist through Swain, but getting to a Swain at this point might be quite hard since it's just so popular unit, and Shyvana is also generally fits in this comp quite nicely, would provide us that extra durability, but again, a very contested unit in the current meta. Going to aggressively push level 8 here and pick up the Volibear unlock, just providing some form of extra frontline, and also neatly positioning this Tristana in a way that hopefully he's able to knock down the back some of the tanks, and does it and so on Swain. So neat little play from Tleyd right here. Able to get through the Slayer board as now our cannon is holding it down. That has secured us a top 4 just from the tempo play in the stage 3 and early stage 4 from the power that this 3-star Rumble has provided. Therefore, definitely the buffs seem to have worked out quite neatly for him. I'm going to pick up a QSSS here just as a substitute for Rage Blade for our Ziggs, which we have just unlocked. Now, we are probably going to be running 8 Yordle for a little while longer. Also be able to pick up a Shyvana. I would guess it to be a little stronger than the Volibear on the current board, as we are able to ensure that this Volibear gets to the 4th cast. And another Slayer's player from Kiyun. We are on the opposite sides, but the cannon is still alive and the Ascension has kicked in, and Rumble is able to rain it down on them. Very nice to see how this augment has worked. Now, I know some people do not like really the 1-1 cost rerolls that are in the meta, but this guy hasn't had any time to shine. Therefore, it's nice to see how even with the quite interesting setup, it's able to succeed. Now that we're able to pick up the Ziggs too, we are dropping out of 8 Yordle, going to be playing for simply a stronger board. And against this Liss Seraphim player, who seems to be chasing a 3-star 4 cost Liss or Braum. Therefore, yeah, we're going to map them out right away. Also noted by Tleyd. Going to use our rolls here to be able to see if we can deny. Able to pick up a Wukong too, so probably going to give up on this Volibear, yep. And let's see how this works out. They are rolling down. I would believe that we should be rolling here as well to see if we can deny any of the Braums. Able to pick up a 2-star Shyvana, 7 Braums right there. Yeah, going to just continuously keep rolling here. Able to pick up a Swain pair as well, and just an item to slot on the Shyvana. Against the Yonara player, we have managed to now stall long enough with the extra DR buffs and are on opposite side of the set to not proc it right away. Therefore, we have managed to secure, and they will also have a 2-star Swain in shop, but they have managed to pick up a Braum 3. Now, this is going to be the real test of this hero augment. It's generally that's the thing, it can reach backlines. Therefore, it might be able to take out all the damage and leave Braum alone, and they also only have single damage item on this Braum. Even though it has some built-in damage, is it enough now? It's getting very close with the Ascension right here, but yeah, the Braum still pumping out quite a lot of damage. But now we have another frontline upgrade. If we're able to stall long enough and able to take out these backliners from their side, we might have a possible chance. Definitely Ziggs supporting that kind of play as well. Going to transition the Hodge here, as the Rumble is generally the last one alive. Now, let's see how the fight plays out. Now we are on the same side. We're able to get to the backline a little bit early. I have taken out the Lysandra and the Seraphim, but the Braum... So yeah, it seems like once the Braum gets there with the punch right away on the Rumble, it's quite hard to take him out. Again, this Rumble struggling with the single target damage. generally, unless it's the last unit alive, but since we are in a 1v1, we might have a chance. We're going to pick up a long shot emblem here, which is going to help us dealing with those backliners a little sooner, and with the added range, I believe should... Yeah, we gain +1 attack range, so hopefully we're able to get to their backline more consistently. Against the Yunara player, who have also now pretty much a critical mass, but they do have a couple of combat econ augments. Therefore, we should have the combat power on our side, and the Rumble again. The last survivor has been throughout the case throughout this game, has been able to get it. Now the silver scrapes come in, we're able to push level 10. Going to probably look into form an end of the general flex unit that will help us stall. Fiddlestick's going to do that greatly. Now, since they had given up on all the other 4 costs to hit the Braum 3, do not need to really worry about that. And let's jump in. We are able to clear almost our backline. Yet still, the backline was the last one Braum, but now it's a 1v1 against this Braum. Now we are still scaling. The Ascension has fully kicked in, and we are also getting a little bit of healing coming in. And we're able to sustain that damage, and the Rumble Hero Augment has managed to take out a Braum 3 with, some would call the Vis Augment selections, playing fully into the chat's memes, but still able to execute well by realizing at what points the board needs to spike, how do we get to the end game, and capping the board accordingly. And just managing to put up a stellar performance for his chat. I would like to thank you for watching, as I hope you learned something new just like I did, and I wish to see you in the next one. Have a good one.